Hi, I'm Aritra Chatterjee. Currently a faculty in BITS Pilani, Hyderabad Campus in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. I graduated from bioengineering in the year 22. I submitted my thesis in August 21 and defended it in the early month of 22. I joined the program in 2016. I'm actually from Calcutta, and then I moved to Bangalore in 2016. That was the first time I was outside uh, Calcutta. So basically, after finishing my PhD, I did a couple of years postdoc at Purdue University in the US, and then I got this faculty opportunity at BITS Pilani, Hyderabad. Came back to India, and now I started my own. So, how to describe my own experience as far as the bioengineering department? It was very enriching. I must say that I joined the PhD program after finishing my bachelor. So that was actually my first full-fledged dive into research, and it was a very different experience to the previous academic experience I was actually used to. It was initially a bit overwhelming, but once I got adjusted to it, I could see it was also very rewarding. It kind of changed my outlook also. The bioengineering program, when I joined, was a very interdisciplinary program, and we were assigned two different guides, one from engineering background and one from the biology counterpart. So my primary supervisor was Professor Namrata Gundaya in mechanical, and Professor Kaduru Gundaya, who is now retired faculty in MRDC department. He was my co-advisor. And because of working in these two different labs with quite different expertise, I got to see uh, how science is done in very different fields in a very different point of view, and that actually I feel helped me a lot in developing my own philosophy as an academic or researcher. Generally, the ways with which we typically solve problems or approach problems in engineering are a little bit different to how we do it in basic science, especially in fields like biology, where the approach can be quite different. The model systems that we work with are very, the results are not always very repeatable. There are so many factors on which these things depend. So that was actually quite a bit of learning experience. It took me some time to start appreciating it. It didn't happen straight away, but the fact that I was exposed to people with so many different backgrounds, I could had the opportunity to not only interact but also professionally work with them, learn a bit from their own approaches, kind of helped me a lot to become an academic and come here today. Regarding some of the courses which bioengineering program offered, so I must say a couple of different things which I feel were very different even compared to the rest of the academic program at the institute. So because we are part of this interdisciplinary program, as you said, we worked in two different labs and we also had a very flexible curriculum structure, right? So we had to take like five core courses from the bioengineering program, which had a very nice blend of engineering as well as biological components. But also we could take courses, we are very free to take other relevant courses from any other department. So I'll first talk a bit about the bioengineering core programs that and the core courses that really helped me. And then I'll also talk a little bit about the flexible nature of it that helps me to take other courses in other departments, which I felt helped my understanding a lot. So if I remember correctly, we had courses on biomechanics and biomaterials. And then there was a practicum course, there's a fundamental to biology course, which is specifically compulsory for us. We came from a non-biology background and started to work in bioengineering. So that course was very interesting, although so but it was primarily taught by three professors. Siddharth Jhunjhunwala, he just joined that time, he was teaching us. Professor Sanjay Visweswaraya takes some parts, and Mr. Aditya Murthy was also there from neurosciences. But he also had a lot of different guest lectures from other faculties. I remember Professor Rene Bochis from CES, Professor S. Mahadevan. He has also now retired. He used to work on a lot of different parasites and biophysics point of view. So they gave a lot of different guest lectures, and it was very enriching in the sense that it was not just about information dumping, but what they used to tell us is they used to give us the background stories about how these things used to work. And that I felt kind of gives you the bigger picture of why it makes it important to study. Typically, when we study biology in school, a lot of people who follow science are a little bit perturbed by the fact that there is so much information to remember. And you have to draw pictures, you have to draw very complex shapes and everything. That often puts a lot of people off. But it is here probably for the first time we got the flavor of learning biology in a very quantitative manner by numbers and by basic physical laws that can define, that can help understand the system. And to me, that was very, very interesting. I think that was one course which gave us a lot of idea about the biological systems which we may have known, but from a different light. So and that is all that also remains the like my first proper biology type course that I took. So I have fond memories of that. And the way the questions used to be given to us, it was all very interesting and innovative. Like there was no straightforward questions like memorize this, and it was often like, can you design an experiment to do this? So it was all trying to help us understand how research works. Open question type problems where you have to design a solution to get to a point. I must also say one of my favorite courses, I think probably the most favorite course from the bioengineering core course was mathematics course from Professor Narendra Dixit. So that was actually that course. We were the first batch, I think, who took that course in 2017. It was proposed in 2016, and in 2017, Professor Narendra Dixit used to take the course. So the syllabus had a lot of different mathematical topics, some of which we already knew, but the beautiful part of that was it directly showed us application on how to really model biological systems. Again, how can you quantify biology, like whether you're culturing bacteria in a petri plate and the numbers are going, colonies are forming, can we actually calculate that upright? Or, in case of ecological settings, there are a lot of different species, predators and prey in a forest, depending on their number, which is going to survive, which is going to not. So it's a very simple but very elegant problems which I felt, and the fact that these inputs can be obtained from doing biological experiments, but the way you can quantify and predict, so that kind of really enthralled me actually. So I remember I really liked that course, and I ended up taking some additional courses along that way. So those two courses, in my opinion, really stood out, and they were also quite useful to me because some of the mathematical techniques I learned in those courses have stayed with me. I continue to keep using some of them for some other works. Normally, though, my PhD was mostly in the field of biomechanics, cell and tissue mechanics. So I also use techniques from mechanics, and I took certain courses in mechanical engineering, which would help. But also the foundation course, because it is offered in the bioengineering program, was a very nice platform to start appreciating those courses. So those are the things which are really good. Another thing I must say is the bioengineering practicum program. So that was something very, very different and something which we are not used to a priori. And if I remember correctly, like I think at that time, bioengineering department used to be the only department that had some sort of a course like that. So when we initially joined, we were very confused that is this some kind of a lab course where we have to work in some labs, learn techniques and all. And then we were actually told no, that it is basically you start working towards your own topic, you start learning the techniques that are relevant in the lab, and you have to present it. And with the first time we presented, we kind of realized that how different it is to actually give a research presentation, how it is important to frame questions, what is your hypothesis, how do you go about validating the hypothesis or something like that. And because it was given to an open platform from faculty from different departments who were co-supervising students, So it was very, very open, and you would often get very interesting input from a diverse crowd that helped you. I remember getting very nice questions from the chair then, Professor Anand Suresh, who I was trying to design a device to stretch cells at that time. And he would often ask, how are you planning to design certain components and everything. So those inputs are very helpful. And then after the questions, I even had discussions with him. He gave me certain inputs that was helpful. So I feel like from the very onset, bioengineering program being a very open-ended, diverse program, which brought people from various different backgrounds under a common umbrella. We had the opportunity to actually talk and interact with so many people that it widened our mindset. Uh, in a very specific focused department where people are working in like-minded questions, sometimes we may be losing out on this aspect, which I feel was one of the strongholds of bioengineering program, especially at that time. My time at bioengineering department that helped me shape my current and future plans. So yeah, I'm. It's not just bioengineering program, but it's actually also IISc, the culture at IISc, to which I'm indebted to. As I said, initially going from a straight from an undergraduate in a central government institute, central government undergraduate focused engineering institute to a very research focused institute, the culture was very, very different. It took me a while to get used to it. But then I think initially after I slowly get used to the difference in culture and the fact that it was very, very rewarding. IISc kind of helped me to independently think about the problem. And again, the diverse nature at bioengineering helped me towards that. I remember we used to have so many useful and interesting seminars almost on a weekly basis at bioengineering program at that time. There used to be lots of visitors, visitors from abroad, were faculty, scientists, early career researchers, even people from industry and all. And often their background would be from various different things because bioengineering itself is a very vast thing, right? It's difficult to define the scope of bioengineering. It has people from all sorts of backgrounds. You can see like people from materials, mechanics, electronics, core biology, chemistry, neuroscience. Everyone is there and trying to uh, contribute to the fact. Even though we couldn't understand maybe at first why a lot of attending is important and everything, you just go and sit there and sometimes you feel that okay, this person is also using the same thing, which the same tool which I am used to, and maybe I can use this in a new light. So that is one of the very interesting things. So good research happens when you talk to people, and sometimes when you talk to people who are in a very different direction to your current research, but they can often give very interesting perspectives. So talking to people, in my opinion, always helps. Even in my thesis advisory committee, I remember I had Professor Rahul Rai and Professor Deepak Saini. So Professor Rahul Roy is from chemical engineering and Professor Deepak Saini again, cell biologist. And Professor Anand Surya also used to be there at that time. So again, they were all from very different perspectives. And when I went up for my comprehensive exam or when I did my work presentation, I could see that they all think of my same problem in very different point of views. And as such, their questions were from very different perspectives. So like down the line when I thought more and more about how they're approaching the problem, it was very interesting because the same problem could be approached in so many different ways. And even though you can't at the same time do all of it, but it gives you a perspective. It gives you a bigger picture that what all can be done from just one small step that you have. You can go in different directions, whether it's a more clinical application based way, whether it's a more fundamental, trying to understand a very fundamental question or trying to move to do something more application based on engineering ways. So all these are very, very useful inputs in my opinion. The other thing which I have later realized after realizing IC is that we had a lot of time for ourselves to actually think about our own problem. Being in a research program, our teaching TA duties were considerably much lighter than what I've seen with people in US or even in IITs. So this to me right now it feels like a very good privilege because we actually had the time to think a lot about our problems, explore things that may not be directly related to our research, but in the bigger picture, it makes sense. Even if it is not directly applicable to your thesis now, in the long run, maybe when you're thinking of certain independent problems, you get to realize, okay, I once read this paper or this something in specific work, and now here it fits. So these are all very useful things. It's difficult to gauge their impact on your contribution on you in a very short time scale. But now when I think about it, look back at it, I feel that because I had these opportunities at IISc, it kind of helped me, think in a more constructive manner, in a more, it has increased my rationality as a researcher, maybe, it has widened my point of view. Some other very useful and interesting practices we used to do at bioengineering. At that time, I'm still used to the name BSSE, Center for Biosystem Science and Engineering, which we used to call at that time. We used to discuss a book annually. So every time a new batch of students would come in, our department chair used to give them a book. It would be technically a non-fiction science topic-based book, but generally these are not like very standard ones. Often we would try to pick books which talks about the philosophy of science, if I can say. So if I remember, in our case, we had this book called The Golem. And what we had to do is after a year, once we completed a year, we had a small book discussion club. So the book had like couple of, I think, 8 to 10 chapters, and we all decided that okay, we read the book, but we will discuss certain chapters in the perspective of it. And that book was very interesting in the sense that it talked about certain experiments in science that went wrong or could be, they could have been interpreted in a different way. So you not only get the idea of how to use science morally, but also how to interpret it in the right sense, how you shouldn't misuse it. In the end, it's a very powerful tool, right? And in this era of where things are changing fast in artificial intelligence and all, I think such concepts are even more, the concepts of ethically using science and everything are even more robust. There are other books also, if I remember, Schrodinger's What is Life, which was actually a very deep and complex book. But all of these things, these kind of help you widen your mindset and accept the research as a lifestyle, if I say so. So that was very, very enriching, and you don't always get such kind of an environment everywhere. So even though at that time, sometimes we used to feel that, okay, it is a bit too hectic, our schedule is getting busy, we have to fit in this, cramming so many things. But later you realize that it's probably good to have that opportunity to actually go to such cases and discuss things. So that is definitely one of the main things. I have like very fond memories of bioengineering. We also used to have these monthly happy hours where we again it would be like having informal discussions, and someone had a paper. We used to cut a cake and celebrate together. So that was also a nice, like relaxing environment. After the first couple of years, basically, then we moved on to our own labs, and at that time we were mostly scattered across the campus, right? Because of our PIs were in different departments. Only except Preeti and Jayashree, they were in the bioengineering program. So the happy hour was a very nice opportunity for us to all come together in the same umbrella in the same building where we started. So that was actually nice. What advice would I give to current and aspiring PhD students in bioengineering? Uh, I should just say that when you are doing PhD, there are like it can get difficult at times, but it is very important to not give up and keep an open mind if possible. Uh, when we are working towards a doctoral thesis, we are always focused on getting results, trying to finish it quickly. We are under pressure of certain deadlines that we need to meet and everything. And there are competition on resources at times. There can be a lot of factors which can go wrong, and that is all true. But I would also like to say that while there is a little bit of stress involved, while there are a lot of other factors involved, it is also important to take it as an opportunity to learn as much as you can, because if you want to stay in academics or even you move into industry, the whatever skills that PhD gives you is just beyond your thesis. So the fact that you go and talk to so many people, you learn something, you have a lot of managerial skills, you learn how to take a problem, dissect it into small, small parts, approach it rationally and solve it. These are all a lot of very different skills that you learn from the PhD program. And especially in a bioengineering program, which inherently is very interdisciplinary, you get to deal problems at the interface of a couple of disciplines, not only just as big as biology and engineering, sometimes it can also have concepts from other fields. So it gives you a perspective to actually understand and appreciate the philosophies of different own departments, the way people from different communities do science, and then try to take the best of them and try to merge and make your own philosophy. I'll say give a very personal example. Like my co-supervisor, Professor Faturu, he was very easygoing on me because he knew he was a hardcore cancer biologist. People in their lab used to work on identifying signaling pathways for different cancers and very hardcore molecular biology stuff. A lot of Western blocks and everything. And he said that I wouldn't initially force you. You don't have to come and start working in my lab as others do, but please attend all lab meetings. And I want you to present a paper every 3 4 months in the field of what you work on, which has a certain component of biology. And in my opinion, that is how I probably learned most of the biology I have learned today. It was not through sitting in a classroom or something. It was just interacting with my fellow senior students. I would see something which they're presenting. I would probably not understand. I'll ask, they will explain. So initially, when we first come in a program, we are very afraid to ask questions, in my opinion. But I think by sitting in so many lab meetings, keeping on continuously presenting my ideas, our work to various diverse audiences, it kind of raises away the fear. You're not much afraid to ask questions, even though they are stupid questions. It may seem stupid questions, but it is not actually a stupid question. So it takes some time to learn that. And doing a PhD is probably the best time to actually put away your fear for this and start asking questions and learn as much as you can. Because it is not just your thesis that you're doing, it's also like a training in philosophy, how to learn something rationally. So I learned a lot by talking to people, honestly. And that is why I keep saying that the beauty of the bioengineering program was the fact that I could speak to so many people from so many different backgrounds. Even in our batchmate, we had like uh, people from electronics, chemical engineering, biotechnology, core biologies, electrical engineering, materials, me from mechanical. So all sorts of background. And when you used to talk with each other, when you used to do different courses, people you often come up with their own expertise and their inputs, which is very helpful. So that's my advice to people. Like just try to talk to as many people as you want within a field of research. Sometimes they may give you certain inputs which really helps. Try to keep an open mind and learn as much as you can because whatever you learn are very translatable skills, not only just as an academic, but also even in industry because you're managing so many things at a time, especially for doing experiments, planning your experiments, managing resources, how to do, timing them accordingly. All of these are very useful skills which may not be very quantifiable at the start, but you realize that they kind of change you a lot. So you're not the same person before you start PhD and after you start. And so with that, I think I want to thank the bioengineering department for interviewing me for this opportunity. And I wish the current students and everyone the very best. Thank you.